General Cole stood at the observation window of Station Meridian and watched the distant stars burn in the endless black. She had served humanity for 23 years, fought in 3 border conflicts, and earned every scar on her body through blood and sacrifice. At 46 years old, she was considered one of the finest military minds Earth had ever produced. But she was also tired, the kind of tired that sleep could not fix. Her communicator beeped softly, and she turned away from the window to answer it. The face of Commander Grant appeared on the screen, his expression troubled in a way that made instincts sharpen immediately. "General, we have received an encrypted transmission from Ambassador Perry on Ascendancy Prime," said. "She marked it as urgent and for your eyes only." Frowned. Perry was not the type to send urgent messages without good reason. The woman had served as humanity's ambassador to the Dominion for 8 years and had learned to navigate alien politics with careful patience. If she was worried, then something was very wrong. "Send it to my private terminal," ordered. She walked to her quarters and locked the door behind her before accessing the message. His face appeared, and could see the fear hiding behind her diplomatic mask. "I do not have much time," whispered. "I have intercepted communications that suggest King has issued a secret decree. The shadow cast has been activated. I do not know all the details, but your name was mentioned. Please be careful. Trust no one outside your inner circle. I will try to learn more, but I fear I am being watched." The message ended abruptly. Sat in silence for a long moment, processing what she had heard. The shadow cast was the personal assassination force of the king. They were legends in the galaxy, killers who had never failed a mission in 600 years of service. If King had sent them after her, then the ancient monarch had decided that humanity's greatest general was too dangerous to live. Understood why. The Dominion had tolerated human expansion for 2 decades because humans had seemed weak and unimportant. But humanity had grown stronger with each passing year. They had won battles they should have lost. They had made allies among species that they considered beneath notice. And herself had become a symbol of human military power that made the paranoid king nervous. She could run. She could hide on Earth behind layers of defense and hope the assassins never reached her. But that was not who she was. Cole had never run from a fight in her life. Her communicator beeped again. This time it was an official message from Earth Command ordering her to attend a diplomatic summit on the border world of 4. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. Someone wanted her away from the safety of Station Meridian and out in vulnerable space where accidents could happen. Made her decision quickly. She would go to 4, but she would go prepared. She called Grant to her quarters and explained the situation in full. His face grew pale as she spoke, but he did not suggest she refuse the orders. "What do you need from me?" asked when she finished. "Stay here and keep Station Meridian ready for anything," said. "If something happens to me, you need to be prepared to take command, and keep a rescue team on standby. I may need extraction on short notice." Nodded grimly. "I will have the fastest ship we have waiting with engines hot. Just say the word and we will come for you." Chose her team carefully. Lieutenant Danny Shaw would pilot her shuttle. He was young, only 24 years old, but he had the fastest reflexes she had ever seen. Sergeant Maria Vance would lead her security detail. Maria was a veteran of the same border conflicts as and had saved her life twice before. These were people trusted with her life because they had already proven themselves worthy of that trust. They departed Station Meridian 2 days later, watched the station shrink behind them and wondered if she would ever see it again. She had faced death many times before, but this felt different. This was not a battle where skill and courage could guarantee victory. This was a hunt, and she was the prey. The journey to 4 would take 6 days through hyperspace. Used the time to study everything she knew about the shadow cast. Which meant they were faster and stronger than humans in short bursts, but they tired quickly and struggled in extended engagements. They preferred to strike from ambush, using poison or sabotage rather than direct combat. They were patient hunters who would wait for the perfect moment. Danny Shaw kept the shuttle running smoothly while Maria Vance organized security rotations, appreciated their quiet competence. They did not ask unnecessary questions or show fear that might spread to the rest of the small crew. They simply did their jobs and trusted that their general had a plan. What they did not know was that did not have a plan yet. She was waiting to see how the enemy would move before she decided how to respond. That was how she had survived so many battles. She never committed to a strategy until she understood what she was facing. On the fifth day of the journey, received another encrypted message from Perry. This one was even shorter than the first. 3 ships left Ascendancy Prime 2 days after you departed Station Meridian. They are following your route. Be ready. I am sorry I could not learn more. Read the message twice and then deleted it. 3 ships meant at least 6 assassins, possibly more. They were 2 days behind her, which meant they would arrive at 4 shortly after she did. The trap was set and waiting. She gathered Danny and Maria in the shuttle's small meeting room and told them the truth. Their faces hardened as they listened, but neither of them suggested turning back. "We are with you, General," Maria said simply. "Whatever comes." Danny nodded in agreement. "Just tell us what to do." Looked at her small team and felt a fierce pride rising in her chest. This was what made humanity special. Not their technology or their numbers, but their stubborn refusal to abandon each other when danger came. The king had sent his best killers after her. He had no idea what that decision was going to cost him. The shuttle dropped out of hyperspace near 4 and watched the border world grow larger on them. Somewhere behind her, 3 ships full of assassins were racing to catch up. The hunt was about to begin, but had already decided that she would not be the prey for long. She was going to turn this hunt around and make the hunters regret ever accepting this mission. 4 was a dusty world of red stone and thin atmosphere. Mining colonies dotted its surface, and cargo ships moved through its orbital space in a constant stream. It was the kind of place where many species mixed together and nobody asked too many questions. Had hoped that the crowd would provide some cover, but her hopes faded quickly after landing. The diplomatic summit had been postponed. No explanation was given, just a polite message saying that the representatives had been delayed and the meeting would be rescheduled. Read the message and knew immediately that the trap was closing around her. There had never been any real summit. The whole thing was designed to draw her out of safe territory. Maria Vance returned from a scouting mission with troubling news. "I spoke with some of the local traders," she reported. 3 ships arrived in the system yesterday and docked at a private station in the asteroid belt. Nobody knows who they are or why they are here, but the locals are nervous. Do not usually visit 4. Nodded slowly. The assassins were already here, waiting and watching. They would study her movements, learn her patterns, and strike when she was most vulnerable. That was how the shadow caste operated. They never rushed to kill. "We need to move," said. "Staying in one place makes us easy targets." They returned to their shuttle and prepared for departure. Danny Shaw ran through the pre-flight checks with careful attention while Maria secured the cabin, sat in the co-pilot seat and watched the dusty landscape through the viewport. She could feel eyes on her, even though she could not see anyone watching. The shuttle lifted off smoothly and climbed toward orbit. They were halfway to space when the first alarm sounded. "Engine malfunction," Danny announced, his voice tight with controlled fear. "Something is wrong with the fuel injection system. We are losing power." Watch the readouts flash red across the control panel. The timing was too perfect. This was not a random failure. Someone had sabotaged their shuttle while it sat on the landing pad. "Can you keep us flying?" asked. Danny's hands moved across the controls with desperate speed. "I can try to compensate, but we need to land soon or we will crash." The shuttle shuddered and dropped several hundred meters before Danny managed to stabilize it. Gripped her seat and watched the young pilot fight against the dying engines. His face was covered in sweat and his jaw was clenched tight, but his hands never stopped moving. "There," Danny said, pointing to a rocky plateau in the distance. "I can put us down there if the engines hold for another 2 minutes." The engines held, but barely. Danny brought the shuttle down in a controlled crash that rattled everyone's teeth and threw loose equipment across the cabin. When they finally stopped moving, released a breath she had not realized she was holding. "Everyone okay?" she called out. Maria and the 2 other security officers reported minor injuries, but nothing serious. Danny sat back in his seat and stared at the smoking control panel. "That was sabotage," he said quietly. "Someone put a corrosive agent in the fuel lines. It was designed to fail at high altitude where we could not survive the crash." Put a hand on his shoulder. "You saved all our lives, remember that." They gathered what supplies they could carry and abandoned the damaged shuttle. Led them toward a range of rocky hills that would provide cover and high ground. The assassins would know that their sabotage had failed, and they would come to finish the job in person. Maria moved up beside as they walked. "What is the plan, General?" Smiled grimly. We stop running. These assassins expect us to flee and hide while they hunt us down. Instead, we are going to set a trap of our own. They reached the hills as the sun began to set, found a defensible position among the rocks and organized her small team. Danny was given a rifle and told to watch their back trail. Maria and the other security officers spread out to cover the approaches. Herself climbed to the highest point and studied the landscape below. An hour after sunset, she saw movement in the distance. 3 figures moving low and fast across the rocky ground, using every shadow for cover. They were good, but had spent her career learning to spot threats in difficult terrain. "Contact," she whispered into her communicator. 3 targets approaching from the south. Let them come close before we engage." The assassins moved with the fluid grace of predators. Their bodies were wrapped in dark fabric that made them nearly invisible in the dim light. Could see the glint of weapons in their hands. They were expecting to find frightened humans cowering in the rocks. They had no idea they were walking into an ambush. Waited until the lead assassin was within 50 meters of their position. Then she gave the order. "Now!" The night erupted in weapons fire. Danny and Maria struck first, their shots catching 2 of the assassins completely by surprise. One fell immediately, hit in the chest and legs. The second managed to dodge and return fire, but the surprise had broken their formation. The third assassin was faster than the others. He closed the distance to the rocks in seconds, moving so quickly that could barely track him. But speed meant nothing when you ran directly into a trap. Maria had positioned herself perfectly, and when the assassin leaped over a boulder, she was waiting with a stun weapon that dropped him instantly. Scrambled down from her position to examine the fallen assassins. The one Danny had hit was dead. The one Maria had stunned was unconscious but alive. The third had taken multiple shots and was bleeding badly but still breathing. "Secure them," ordered. "I want at least one alive for questioning." Maria bound the unconscious assassin with restraints while Danny kept watch for more enemies. Searched the bodies and found what she was looking for on the dead assassin. A communication device with a log of recent messages. And on the device's security seal, the mark of the royal house. She held the device up and felt a fierce satisfaction burning in her chest. This was proof. Not enough to expose King completely, but it was a start. Somewhere out there, more assassins were waiting, and was going to find them and take everything she needed to show the galaxy what the King had done. "General," Maria called out, "the prisoner is waking up." Walked over to the bound assassin and knelt beside him. His eyes opened slowly, and she saw confusion and anger in his alien face. "Your mission has failed," said calmly, "and before this is over, you are going to help me make your king regret ever sending you after me." The captured assassin refused to speak. His name was, and he was the leader of the Shadow Cast team sent to kill Cole. She learned his name only because it was inscribed on the ceremonial blade they found hidden in his clothing. For 3 hours he sat in silence while asked questions, his golden eyes staring at her with nothing but contempt. Was not discouraged. She had interrogated prisoners before and understood that silence was often more valuable than words. While refused to talk, his communication device told her everything she needed to know. The messages were encrypted, but the encryption was old and her team cracked it within an hour. The messages confirmed what it suspected. King had personally ordered her assassination. The language was careful, using codes and indirect references, but the meaning was clear. The general called Cole was to be eliminated quietly, and her death was to appear accidental. If that failed, her death was to appear as the work of criminals or pirates. Under no circumstances was the crown to be connected to the killing. "Your king made a mistake," told. "He put his royal seal on these orders. He thought you would succeed and nobody would ever see them. But you failed, and now I have proof." Spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and cold like stones grinding together. "You have nothing. Those messages will not be accepted as evidence by any galactic court. They will say you fabricated them." Smiled. "That is why I need more, and you're going to help me get it." She left the prisoner under guard and gathered her team for a planning session. 3 assassins had attacked them, but Perry's warning had mentioned 3 ships. That meant more enemies were still out there, probably watching and waiting to see what happened. "We cannot stay here," Maria said. "If there are more of them, they will come for their leader eventually." Danny nodded in agreement. "We need to get off this planet and back to human space. Once we are home, we can present this evidence to the council." shook her head. The evidence we have is not enough, is right about that. Any court will say we fabricated those messages to frame the king. We need something more convincing. We need testimony from one of the assassins themselves, or we need to capture more direct evidence. She looked toward the distant asteroid belt that hung in the night sky like a scattered necklace of light. That was where the ships had docked. That was where the remaining assassins were waiting. "We are going hunting," announced. They found a small transport at an abandoned mining station and repaired it enough to reach orbit. Danny flew while Maria watched the sensors for any sign of pursuit. Was secured in the cargo hold, his restraints triple-checked to prevent escape. The asteroid belt was vast and cluttered with debris from ancient mining operations. Perfect terrain for an ambush, which meant perfect terrain for both sides. Directed Danny to approach carefully, using the larger asteroids for cover while they searched for the ships. They found them 3 hours later. 2 ships docked at a small station carved into a massive asteroid. The third ship was missing, probably out on patrol somewhere in the belt. "I count 4 life signs on the station," Maria reported, "plus whatever crew is on the patrol ship." Study the tactical situation carefully. A direct assault would be suicide against 4 trained assassins, but she did not need to defeat them in combat. She just needed to get inside and find more evidence. She said, walking back to the cargo hold, "Your team is waiting on that station. They do not know you have been captured. You are going to call them and tell them you have completed your mission and need pickup." Laughed bitterly. "Why would I help you? You are going to kill me anyway." Crouched down to meet his eyes. "I am not going to kill you. Humans do not murder prisoners. If you help me, I will return you to your people when this is over. You will face shame for your failure, but you will be alive." The assassin studied her face for a long moment. "You are lying. No one shows mercy to enemies." "Humans do," said simply. "It is one of the things that makes us different." Made the call. His voice was steady and convincing as he reported success and requested extraction. The on the station acknowledged and sent coordinates for a meeting point deeper in the asteroid belt, but had no intention of going to that meeting. Instead, she had Danny circle around to approach the station from the opposite direction while the patrol ship left to collect their leader. With only 2 assassins remaining on the station, the odds were much better. They docked quietly and breached the station's airlock before they realized they were under attack. The fighting was brutal and fast. Maria took down the first assassin with a surprise shot before he could draw his weapon. The second was faster and wounded one of the security officers before Danny shot him from behind. Moved through the station searching for evidence while her team secured the area. She found it in the command center, a holographic communication terminal with a recorded message from King himself. The king's ancient face filled the screen as he gave his final orders to the shadow cast. "The human general must die," the king said clearly. "She represents a threat to our dominion that cannot be tolerated. Complete your mission and return home. You will be rewarded greatly for this service to the crown." Saved the recording to her personal device and backed it up 3 more times. This was what she needed. A direct order from the king, recorded in his own voice, commanding the assassination of a human military officer. No court in the galaxy could dismiss this as fabrication. She returned to the cargo hold where waited. The assassin could tell from her face that something had changed. "You found something," he said quietly. Showed him the recording. "Your king sentenced himself when he made this. Now I am going to take this proof back to Earth and show the entire galaxy what the Dominion truly is." Lowered his head. "Then it is over. My mission has failed completely." Surprised him again. "Your mission failed, but your life does not have to be over. Help me and I will keep my promise. You will go home alive." The assassin looked up at her with something new in his golden eyes. It was not friendship or loyalty, but it was the beginning of respect. "What do you need from me?" he asked. The journey home was the most dangerous part of the mission. Had the evidence she needed, but between 4 and Earth lay thousands of light years of space controlled by the Dominion or their allies. King would know by now that his assassins had failed. He would do everything in his power to stop from reaching human territory with her proof. They abandoned the damaged transport and took one of the ships instead. It was faster and had better sensors, which they would need to avoid the patrols that were certainly searching for them. Danny studied the alien controls for an hour before he felt confident enough to pilot the vessel. "The navigation system shows a route through neutral space," he reported. It will add 3 days to our journey, but we will avoid most of the patrol zones. Proved the route, and they jumped to hyperspace. The first day passed quietly. Used the time to organize her evidence and record her own testimony about everything that had happened. If something went wrong and she did not survive, she wanted her account to reach Earth anyway. On the second day, they received a transmission from Ambassador Perry. Her face looked exhausted and frightened on the communication screen. "Thank the stars you are alive," said. "The entire Dominion is searching for you. King has accused you of attacking citizens and stealing military property. He is demanding that neutral species help capture you as a criminal." Felt cold anger rising in her chest. The king was trying to turn the galaxy against her before she could present her evidence. It was a clever move, but it would not work. "I have proof of what he did," replied. "A recording of the king himself ordering my assassination. When the galaxy sees that, his lies will collapse." Nodded quickly. "I believe you, but getting that proof to Earth will not be easy. The fleet has moved to blockade the main hyperspace routes into human space. You cannot reach Earth through normal channels." Commander Grant joined the transmission from Station Meridian. His face was grim but determined. "General, I have a stealth ship waiting at the edge of neutral space. If you can reach the rendezvous point, we can get you home safely. But you need to move fast. They are tightening their net every hour." Memorized the coordinates and ended the transmission. They had 3 days of travel left, and the enemy was closing in from all directions. She needed to buy time, and she knew only one way to do it. "Ambassador Perry," she said, opening a new channel. "I need you to file formal diplomatic complaints against the Dominion. Accuse them of violating the peace treaty, harassing human citizens, and any other charge you can think of. Make them respond to paperwork while I escape." Smiled for the first time. "I will bury them in so many complaints that their bureaucrats will be working for months. Be safe. The future of human relations may depend on what happens in the next few days." The diplomatic distraction worked better than it hoped. Ships that had been searching for her were recalled to deal with the flood of official complaints. Patrol patterns shifted and gaps opened in their coverage. Danny navigated through these gaps with careful skill, always staying one step ahead of the hunters. On the third day, they encountered a problem that diplomacy could not solve. A cruiser dropped out of hyperspace directly in front of them, blocking their path to the rendezvous point. It was too big to fight and too fast to outrun. "They are hailing us," Maria announced, demanding we surrender immediately. Looked at the cruiser on the and made a decision. "Open a channel, let me talk to them." The face of a captain appeared on the screen. His expression was cold and professional. "Human vessel, you are ordered to power down your engines and prepare for boarding. Any resistance will be met with deadly force." Stood tall and met his gaze without fear. "Captain, I am General Cole of the Human Defense Forces. I am carrying evidence that your king ordered my assassination in violation of every treaty and law in the galaxy. If you stop me, that evidence will still reach Earth. I have sent copies through a dozen different channels. All you will accomplish is starting a war that your Dominion cannot win." The captain hesitated. He had been told to capture a criminal, not confront a general with claims of royal misconduct. "You are lying. The king would never order such an action." Transmitted a portion of the recording. The captain's face changed as he watched his king give the order to kill. The certainty in his eyes flickered and died. "Let me pass," said quietly. "You can tell your superiors that I escaped before you could intercept. No one will blame you. But if you try to stop me, you will be helping your king cover up a crime. Is that the legacy you want?" The captain stared at her for a long moment. Then he gave an order to his crew, and the cruiser moved aside, opening a path through neutral space. "Go," the captain said, "but know that this changes nothing. The Dominion will not forget this insult." Nodded respectfully. "Neither will humanity. But perhaps next time, your king will think twice before sending assassins after our people." They reached the rendezvous point 6 hours later. The human stealth ship was waiting exactly where had promised. Transferred her team and her prisoner to the new vessel and watched the ship disappear as they engaged the cloaking systems. Had been silent throughout the escape. Now he spoke for the first time in days. "You convinced that captain to let you go. How? He had orders to capture you." Sat down across from him. "I told him the truth. Sometimes that is enough. Your people are not evil. They are just following a king who has let fear make him cruel. When the galaxy sees what he did, many will be ashamed. They will question whether this is the leader they want. The assassin considered her words. You think you can change the Dominion with a single recording? No, admitted, but I can start a conversation. That is how change begins, one conversation at a time. The stealth ship crossed into human space without incident. Earth appeared on the blue and green and beautiful, felt tears forming in her eyes as she looked at her home. She had not been certain she would ever see it again. Welcome home, General, Danny said softly. Put a hand on his shoulder. We made it, all of us. Now the real work begins. The United Human Council Chamber was the largest meeting hall on Earth. It could hold 10,000 people, and today every seat was filled. Representatives from 12 neutral alien species had been invited to witness the proceedings. Holographic cameras broadcast the event to every corner of human space and beyond. The entire galaxy was watching. General Cole stood at the central podium and looked out at the assembled crowd. She wore her dress uniform with every medal she had earned displayed on her chest. Beside her stood Council President Blake, a tall man with silver hair and steady eyes who had led humanity through some of its darkest hours. People of Earth and honored guests from across the galaxy, President Blake began. We have gathered today to hear testimony regarding an act of aggression against humanity by the Dominion. General Cole will present evidence that King of the ordered her assassination in direct violation of our peace treaty. Stepped forward and began her presentation. She told the story from the beginning, starting with Ambassador Perry's warning and ending with her escape through the blockade. She presented the encrypted messages bearing the royal seal. She showed the communication logs from the assassin ships. And finally, she played the recording of King himself giving the order for her death. The chamber fell completely silent as the ancient king's voice echoed through the hall. His words were clear and impossible to misinterpret. He had ordered the murder of a human military officer, and he had done it in secret because he knew it was wrong. When the recording ended, President Blake addressed the holographic cameras. King, you are watching this broadcast. You have heard the evidence against you. Do you wish to respond? A new holographic image appeared at the center of the chamber. King's face was twisted with rage. He had ruled the Dominion for 600 years and had never been challenged so publicly. This is a fabrication, the king declared. The humans have created false evidence to justify their aggression against my people. I demand that these lies be rejected and that General Cole be delivered to justice for the crimes she committed in our space. Had expected this response. She turned to the side of the chamber where waited under guard. I have one more piece of evidence to present, a witness who was there from the beginning. Walked forward slowly. His golden eyes swept across the chamber, taking in the thousands of faces watching him. He was the leader of the Shadow Caste, the deadliest assassins in the galaxy, and he was about to betray his king before the entire universe. I am of the Shadow Caste, he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the silent chamber. I was sent by King to kill General Cole. The recording you heard is authentic. The orders came directly from the throne. Everything the general has said is true. The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted questions. Journalists called for attention. King's holographic image flickered with fury. You are a traitor, the king screamed. You have betrayed your oath and your people. When you return home, you will face execution for this dishonor. Turn to face his king's image. I have not betrayed my people. I have betrayed you. And you have betrayed everything the Dominion is supposed to represent. You sent us to murder an innocent woman because you were afraid of what she represented. That is not strength. That is cowardice. King's image vanished as he cut the transmission. The chamber slowly quieted as President Blake raised his hands for silence. The evidence has been presented, the president said. Representatives of the neutral species, you have seen and heard everything. We ask that you witness humanity's response to this act of aggression. One by one, the alien representatives stood and gave their verdicts. The collective condemned the assassination attempt. The Mineral Syndicate announced they were suspending trade agreements with the Dominion. The Thousand Worlds Coalition demanded an independent investigation. By the time the last representative had spoken, King had lost the support of nearly every neutral power in the galaxy. President Blake turned to address the cameras one final time. Humanity does not seek war with the Dominion. We have never sought conquest or domination, but we will not be murdered in secret by a king who fears our strength. King now faces a choice. He can acknowledge his crime and make peace with humanity, or he can face isolation from a galaxy that has seen his true nature. The choice is his. The broadcast ended and the chamber slowly emptied. Remained at the podium, feeling the weight of exhaustion settling over her. She had won, but victory felt hollow. The Dominion would not forget this humiliation. War might come eventually, no matter what decisions were made today. Approached her after most of the crowd had left. His face was unreadable. "You kept your promise," he said. "I for you, and now you will return me to my people as you said." Nodded. "A ship will take you to the border tomorrow. What happens after that is between you and your Dominion." The assassin was silent for a moment. "They will probably kill me. Traitors do not live long in society." "Then why did you do it?" asked. "You could have stayed silent. I would not have forced you to speak." Looked toward the windows where stars were beginning to appear in the evening sky. "Because you showed me something I did not believe was possible. You captured me and spared my life. You defeated my team and treated the wounded. You had every reason to hate me, but you offered mercy instead. I wanted to understand why." Smiled sadly. "Mercy is not weakness. It is a choice we make because we believe enemies can become something else. Friends, maybe, or at least people who understand us a little better." The assassin considered this. "Perhaps I will survive longer than I expect, and perhaps when I return home, I will tell others what I learned about humanity, that you are not the monsters our king claims, that you fight hard but forgive readily. That might be worth more than my life." He turned and walked away without looking back. Watched him go and felt something like hope stirring in her chest. One conversation at a time, she had told him. Maybe this was how peace actually worked. Not through treaties and agreements, but through individual moments of understanding between people who were supposed to be enemies. President Blake joined her at the window. "You did well today, General. Humanity is proud of you." Shook her head. "I just survived. My team did the hard work. Danny Shaw, Maria Vance, Ambassador Perry, Commander Grant. They are the heroes of this story." The president smiled. "Heroes or not, you have all earned a rest. Take some time off. The galaxy will still be here when you return." Looked out at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, King was planning his next move. The Dominion would not stay quiet forever. But for now, humanity had proven something important. They could be threatened, hunted, and pushed to the edge of destruction. And they would still find a way to stand tall and show the galaxy what they were made of. That was the human way. It always had been.